The cold wind scraped against Sarah's cheeks as she trudged down the city street, her coat barely shielding her from the bitterness of both the weather and her own thoughts. Unemployment had stretched to 5 exhausting months, and the dreams she once held close were now barely flickering. Her savings were nearly gone, rejection emails clogged her inbox, and each day felt like a heavy repeat of the last. As she passed a quiet café she rarely noticed before, a curious sight caught her eye, an old, leather-bound book left on a bench outside. She hesitated, then picked it up. The cover was blank, but it felt meaningful, like it belonged to someone who had carried it through storms. Inside was a single folded note. Sometimes, the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places. Keep an open heart. She looked around. No one. The street was nearly empty. The words stuck in her mind as she tucked the note and the book into her bag and walked on, a strange warmth blooming in her chest. The next day, without really meaning to, she returned to the café. And the next. Something about that place, small, cozy, quiet, made her feel less invisible. She began bringing the book with her, flipping through it as she sat with her coffee. The book was filled with random scribbles, poetry fragments, and stories written in different hands, like a traveling journal passed from one soul to another. One afternoon, as she arrived, she saw a young man sitting on the same bench. He looked barely older than 20, with tired eyes and a cardboard sign, "Hungry. Anything helps." He wasn't asking, just existing. Sarah paused, her hand instinctively reaching for her wallet, but she stopped. She barely had enough herself. Still, her heart nudged her forward. "Would you like a coffee?" she asked gently. He looked up, surprised. Yeah. Thank you." They sat together, and over lukewarm coffee and a shared sandwich, the silence between them eased. His name was Daniel. A year ago, he was working construction, dreaming of starting a landscaping business. But a site accident left him injured and jobless. With no family to fall back on, he'd ended up on the streets. Sarah told him her own story: marketing degree, 5 years at a firm, then sudden layoffs. One thing after another. She didn't plan to open up, but something about Daniel's presence made it easy. "You know," he said, staring into his cup, "sometimes the hardest part isn't being broke. It's feeling like no one sees you. Like you stopped existing." Sarah nodded. She understood that too well. That brief moment of connection lit something in her. She returned to the café often, hoping to run into Daniel. And sometimes she did. Sometimes they shared food. Sometimes just a smile and a few words. One time, she brought him socks and a scarf she'd knitted during her anxious nights. He was overwhelmed. Weeks passed. Sarah still hadn't found a job, but she noticed a shift within her. She began to see people again, the mother juggling groceries and a toddler, the janitor who always held the elevator, the old man feeding birds in the park. The world, once dull and distant, was warming, bit by bit. And then one Tuesday morning, her phone rang. It was a call from a nonprofit she'd interviewed with months ago and forgotten. They were offering her a communications coordinator role, small, but stable, and in alignment with her values. She nearly dropped the phone in disbelief. After her first day at work, Sarah rushed to the café to find Daniel. She wanted to thank him. She wanted to tell him how that one moment of kindness had turned her life around. But he wasn't there. Instead, she found the old leather book on the bench again. Inside was a new note. "I knew you'd make it. Keep your heart open. The world needs people like you. D." She held the book to her chest, tears rising to her eyes. Daniel had given her the gift of being seen. Of being reminded that no one is truly alone. That even in our hardest seasons, small acts of kindness ripple outward, sometimes farther than we'll ever know. From that day forward, Sarah kept the book with her. She added her own story to its pages and, one morning, she left it on a bench outside the café with a new message tucked inside. If you're holding this, know you are not alone. Keep going. Keep your heart open.